Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. We speak a lot about forgiveness and the importance of forgiveness in letting go. I can't move on unless I have really forgiven that which has happened in the past. And so in this case where you've got domestic violence, what sounds like rape, and then abortion, you've got anger, you've got pain, you've got guilt, you've got anger at others, anger at the self, guilt for what you've done, probably also guilt for thinking incorrectly but very commonly that even the abuse was your fault. Too frequently, victims of abuse blame themselves. And so I imagine that at the moment your mind and your heart are full of so many different streams of anger, of pain, of regret, of guilt, both for that which precipitated having to make that choice, and then, of course, for that which you feel in doing it and afterwards. Recognize, first of all, that we cannot go backwards. And this, of course, pertains to everyone in every situation. We cannot rewind history. You cannot undo what someone has done to you. You cannot undo what you have done. Time moves only forward. And what that means is that the only way to have freedom in the present moment is not through rewriting or rewinding the past, but through being able to find forgiveness, peace, acceptance. Now, acceptance does not mean, oh, that was great, let's do that again. When we speak about acceptance, people tend to really misunderstand it. Acceptance doesn't mean, oh, I loved that. Oh, it was okay, I condone it. Acceptance means I recognize I can't rewrite history. I cannot go backwards. I cannot undo it. My only possibility for freedom and joy and love is right here in this moment. And so, we work with that which happened to you, the anger, the pain, the regret, even the guilt of that which was done to you. And you've got to let it go. Whether it's anger and pain at the one who abused you, whether anger and pain at those who in your mind may have contributed to making you stuck in that situation, anger or pain at yourself for making what in hindsight's 2020 we know was perhaps not a wonderful decision to be in that marriage. or in that home situation. But you have to forgive everyone and anyone, including yourself, involved in it. And to realize that those who hurt you were hurting you because that's what they have inside them. If inside of me there is only pain, only anger, only suffering, that's what I'm going to share. If I'm sick and I've eaten something bad, I've got food poisoning, get too close, I'm going to vomit all over you. Not because you've done something wrong, not because you deserve to be vomited all over, but because I've eaten something bad. There is sickness in me, disease in me from the bacteria of what I've eaten. You happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, you get vomited on. And when we find ourselves the subject of, the recipient of people's abuse, physical, emotional, we have found ourselves in a situation where their internal disease, that dis-ease of who they are, is literally vomiting out on top of us. Now, we forgive them. We understand that they are literally dis-eased in their anger, in their pain, in their confusion. But we also realize, I'm not going to keep standing here. You recognize when I stand in front of that person after they eat at that restaurant where they're always sick, I get vomited on. So in our compassion for ourselves, in our love for ourselves, we stop allowing ourselves to be the one receiving the literal or metaphoric vomit of their disease. In terms of the choice that you made, it must have been such a horribly difficult decision. It's a lose-lose situation. And you made the very best choice that you could make in that moment, in that situation, with what you had in your toolbox at that moment. Your emotional toolbox, your spiritual toolbox, your logistic and resource toolbox, your psychological toolbox. You did the best that you could in that moment. And yeah, it's difficult. And I can imagine the sadness and the pain and the regret that you feel. But you can't rewind it. You can't undo it. But now what you can do in that forgiveness of the self, the compassion to the self for what you were going through and the difficult situation you were in, is to commit yourself to sharing love, sharing compassion, sharing what you've learned through this difficult situation with other young women who are struggling in the same boat you were in, who are maybe struggling with domestic abuse, who are struggling with unwanted pregnancies. How can you help them make the right decision? And one that will lead to the least amount of pain, of suffering. One that will bring about the most alignment of life, of purpose, of dharma, of compassion, both for the child and the mother. And that's something that you've worked through. And in that pain, in that guilt, see whether you can take the lessons that you've learned, the strength that you have found, and reach out to young women who I am sure could really benefit from what you have found. And commit yourself to love, to compassion, to care for as much of God's living beings as you possibly can. Because we can't rewind what happened to you, the choices that others made, the choices that you made. All we can do is move forward. And so we move forward with connection, with compassion, with love, with forgiveness, and with commitment. Commitment to love, to compassion, to dharma, to service. And that's for yourself and for all of those with whom you can share that.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me.
So here we find ourselves in that human dilemma. We tread upon Mother Earth, and we tread as lightly, as compassionately, as non-violently as we possibly can. And we tread in the way, those of us committed to a spiritual practice, committed to Dharma, committed to yoga, we tread in a way that we hope will cause the least amount of pain and suffering and bring about the most amount of healing, health, goodness. And it's complicated. For example, we have to eat. Very few of us are able to be breatharians. It's one of the few items on my bucket list. I'd love to be able to do it. I'd love to be able to just live on air. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, which means we have to eat. Now, we eat, and again, those of us who are committed to this path, we eat as non-violently as possible. So, obviously, we are vegetarians, we're vegans. We eat as organically as possible. as locally as possible, in ways that keep farmers happy, our earth happy. But there's some level of violence in that. Even vegetables feel something. They're alive. Fruit probably feels something. It's alive. Inevitably, there's worms in the ground, bugs in the ground who die when you till the soil. But we have to eat. And so you have to make this decision. We walk on the grass. Inevitably, something is going to get itself caught under our feet. Or grass gets cut down and concrete gets poured. So everything that lived in the grass dies. But as we live, as we create what we consider developed societies, there's a price we pay. But it's a constant balance, because I do not believe that actually our highest dharma is just to absolutely sit still and never move, never tread onto grass, never get in a moving vehicle. I mean, yes, right now in the middle of the corona pandemic, that is our highest dharma, for sure. But at the rest of the time, I don't think that God has created us with the purpose that we should just absolutely not budge anywhere, lest a worm, a creature, should find itself under our foot. But it's a balance. And as the person who asked this question, we travel. Coming to have Mother Ganga's darshan, does that contribute to pollution? Well, unless you personally throw your trash in her, or unless you are staying somewhere where the waste isn't treated and goes into Ganga, unless you do those things, then no, your personal visit isn't polluting her. But on a bigger level, yeah, it is. Because the airplane that you take to fly from South Africa to India, the airplane that you take from Delhi to here, the car that you take from the airport to Rishikesh, they all contribute to climate change, contribute to the depletion of our ozone layer, contribute on some level to air pollution. And it's a balance. Because maybe when you come, in the experience that you have here on the banks of Mother Ganga, you are so touched and so transformed that your life becomes a blessing to so many. And sitting here on Mother Ganga's banks, you find that inner connection to the divine powerhouse, to your dharma, to your purpose. And then you live that, touching and healing countless people. Is it worth the impact on the environment? Well, I would say yes. We don't have some objective equation into which you can input number of miles you traveled, then subtract from it the amount of good you're doing in the world as though somehow that were measurable, that was inspired by you being here in this holy place. We don't have a way to measure it. This is where we have what Puja Swamiji calls our inner GPS that tells us, that guides us. So ask yourself, is the internal spiritual benefit to me enough to offset my carbon footprint? Can you be inspired changed, transformed, uplifted. Because what we need today, more than everybody just sitting home and not moving, but glued to their TV sets, just binge watching movies and beating up their partners in these skyrocketing rates of domestic violence. More than that, what we need is a global community that is connected and uplifted, awake. And if that takes an occasional airplane flight, getting in your car sometimes, it's worth it. But this is where consciousness has to be brought into everything we do. And an awareness that, it all has a ripple impact. Everything we do, everything we eat, everything we buy, what shampoo you use, what soap you use, it all has an impact. The ingredients that are in it, who's produced it? Was it tested on animals? All of these. And it allows us actually the opportunity to really be conscious in every minute and every moment. How we eat, how we shop, how we dress. And how we travel. And certainly one thing this lockdown has shown us is a lot of the travel is really unnecessary. A lot of what we used to get in our cars to do or get on planes to do, amazing. We can do it without moving. And we're still going to want to get in our cars sometimes and get on planes sometimes. Because there will be places to go, things to do, people to see that we can't do via Zoom or FaceTime. And the impact of which will be worth the negative ripple upon the environment. But we must bring that consciousness into it. And then, of course, every time you get on a plane or every time you get in a car, keep a list. And at the end of every month or the end of every 2 months, make a nice donation to a wonderful organization that is doing fantastic work for climate change. There's lots of them. Work for the environment. Work protecting our rainforests. Every time you get in a car or on a plane, make a note. Tally it up in some way at the end of the month. There are equations for how to measure carbon footprints and offsetting it. And so just make a commitment that A, you're going to bring consciousness into your travel. You're not going to get in your car to just go for a drive or get on a plane just because you're bored and need to go somewhere. But when you do travel, to get inspired, to get connected, to be transformed, that you're then simultaneously also going to put back into that environment, back into the planet, and allow the organizations who are working to keep the air clean, the forests standing, the waters clean, to help them do their job. Yeah, beautiful for having this thought and this question.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation.
Sajit Raitata has asked, are punishment and karma fundamentally the same thing? No. Punishment and karma are not at all the same. Punishment is objectively a bad thing. You do something wrong, you get punished. Mom says no cookies before dinner. You eat cookies before dinner. Mom catches you. You get sent to your room. You get grounded from going out with your friends for the weekend. Your favorite TV show you're not allowed to watch, whatever it may be. But you get in trouble. You get punished. You've done something wrong. You get something negative in exchange. Same thing happens on a bigger level later in life. Embezzle money from your job. Get caught. Go to jail. Crime. Punishment. Did something wrong, got something objectively bad in exchange. Karma has no sense at all of rewards and punishments. Karma is not about what you've done that's right or wrong. I always say, sadly, we've taken the concept of Santa Claus that so many of us in the West have grown up with, of that song that we sing and learn when we're little about he knows if you've been good or bad, and that what we're going to get on Christmas morning is based on if we've been good or bad. If you're good, you get lots of presents. You're bad, no presents. And we've taken in a kind of collective way, even into a land, a culture, a religion that doesn't celebrate Christmas, that doesn't talk about Santa Claus. Nonetheless, we've brought this concept of karma as though God were sitting up there somewhere saying, you've been good, you get something good. You've been bad, you get something bad. And not only is that wrong, but it's actually a really dangerous way of thinking, because when we look at people, for example, who are very wealthy or very successful, and people maybe who we know are crooked, are cheating, are not living according to Dharma, so many people ask, why is it that they are being rewarded for doing something wrong? As though the money were somehow a reward, as though somehow to be poor were a punishment, as though somehow to be successful were a reward. So we've brought in this real superficial and very judgmental, prejudiced way of looking at things. We put labels on things. We say money is good. Poverty is bad. Success is good, failure is bad. Health is good, sickness is bad. We put these labels on things. So that when, for example, success happens, and it happens to someone who is corrupt, cheating, lying, in our minds we think, oh, the guy who's cheating gets rewarded, therefore I also should cheat. Therefore there's nothing wrong with it. Karma is different. Karma is not dishing out rewards and punishments. Karma is doing two things. Number one, it is the scientific response to a stimuli. There is an action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's laws actually go very, very well with karma. That which you do, it comes back. Stimulus, response, action, reaction. You plant an apple seed, you get an apple tree. This is the law of nature. If I walk off this rooftop, I will fall to the ground. But not because I've been punished. I will fall to the ground because of this thing called the law of gravity that grabs hold of my body and pulls it to the ground. In the same way, if I get an apple tree from an apple seed that I've planted, and I love apples, it's not that it was a reward from the universe. If I'm allergic to apples, it's not that it was a punishment from the universe. It's just a law of nature that says apple trees come from apple seeds, and apple seeds become apple trees. So in the same way, in our karmic life, what we plant, what we sow, we reap. Not because the universe is trying to reward us or punish us, but simply because it is the reaction to the action that we've done. It is the response to the stimulus. And so if you find an apple tree in your life, you can be pretty sure that you planted an apple seed, or that you allowed someone to plant an apple seed in your garden. Not because you've been punished, not because you've been rewarded, but simply because that is the result of the seed. Karma literally means action. What we get in exchange for the action is the fruits of the action, literally. Karm, phal. Fruit. Karma is the action, the seeds, the fruit is what comes. If you love it, we call it a sweet fruit. We call it a reward. You're allergic to it. It's bitter. You don't like it. We call it a punishment. But the universe, the law of karma, is not rooted upon your likes and dislikes. What you think is sweet, what you think is bitter. It's rooted simply in turning seeds into trees. So if in your life there are trees that feel bitter to you, that you don't like, that are causing suffering, ask yourself, what seeds did I plant? Or what seeds did I allow someone else to plant in my life? And then ask yourself how you can plant different seeds in the future. But even before those different seeds sprout and become trees, ask yourself how you can learn the lesson from the tree that is currently in your life. Because that's the second part of karma. So one part of karma, remember I said there were two parts. So one part of karma is just the fruit of the seeds that were planted. The second part of karma is that we all get that which is the most conducive for us to take our next step closer to the divine, to truth, to awakening, to enlightenment. So whatever situation you are in, know that that is the situation that is the most conducive for you to take your next step closest to the divine, closest to truth, closest to light. So ask yourself, what lesson am I supposed to learn from here? What is the point? What is the universe trying to teach me? Because just like you can't go into 6th grade until you learn everything you're supposed to learn in 5th grade, you'll have to keep repeating it. In the same way in life, we don't get to be free of the trees in our yard until we've learned whatever lessons they are there to teach us, until we've learned to stop planting those seeds. So whatever situation you are in, especially if there is an experience of suffering, ask yourself, what lesson am I supposed to learn? And also, lastly, ask yourself, is this the only way to look at it? Does this experience have to bring suffering? Is there an alternative here? Just because your husband was late coming home, or your wife was late coming home, or your kids were late coming home, just because your loved one did something you didn't want them to do, or didn't do something that you did want them to do, do you have to get angry? Do you have to be miserable? Do you have to be stressed? We think that suffering is the only alternative to so many of life's situations. Of course I'm stressed. Of course I'm miserable. Of course I'm depressed. And we reinforce this for other people. We say, yeah, of course it's natural. What do you mean he was an hour late? What do you mean he forgot your birthday? What do you mean he said that? What do you mean your kids did that? My God, of course, yeah, you better be angry. You should be more angry. Yeah, I get very stressed and upset when that happens too. It's normal. It's natural. Don't worry. And so we've collectively created this normal of stress, of depression, of misery, based upon things in the outer world. Little things usually. Ask yourself, is there an alternative? Could I choose something different in this moment? And I'll tell you a secret I've learned. There's always an alternative. You can always choose love, choose peace. Doesn't mean that we love whatever the universe sends us. Doesn't mean we love every karmic fruit that comes our way. Doesn't mean we say, oh, that was great, let's do that again. But it means that we are able to experience that moment without losing our peace, our love, our truth. It means we are able to be anchored and grounded and rooted in something that is deeper and more stable than just what's happening in the outer world. And when you do that, you start to find yourself able to break free of the cycle. And as Bhagwan Krishna reminded us in the Gita, the ultimate way to be free completely is to realize you're just a tool in God's hands. Just a tool in the divine's hands. And surrender. Surrender your life. Every minute, every moment, to the divine. Oh God, use me. Use me as a tool in your hands. And then we get free. And then whatever comes, we're able to take it with love, with joy. Look at Kunti. At the end of the war of Kurukshetra, She had lost so much. And Bhagwan Krishna says to her, Kunti, kuch mango, ask for something from me. You've suffered so much. What can I give you? What does she say? Give me hardship, O Lord. Give me suffering. And Bhagwan Krishna says, but you've suffered so much already. Why? She says, because what I have found is when things are going very well, you are far from me. When things have been the most difficult, you have been the closest. So even in the face of what Kunti had suffered, had experienced, in that war of Kurukshetra, in the Mahabharata, her prayer for more suffering. Why? Because it brought her closer to God. So there is always an alternative of how we think about things. Choose love. Choose peace. Choose God.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation.
How do we enter into the divine romance with God? So, it's an interesting way to think about it. There's other ways to think about it, but that love and connection with God. See, when most of us think of romance, we think of it as a drama. There's passion, there's games, there's courting, there's playing hard to get, there's all the sorts of games. Then, of course, there's jealousy, then there's even anger sometimes. There's frustration. We all know what romance is like. But when we talk about divine romance with God, it's not about a superficial level of drama. It's not about a game of hard to get. It's not about a game of jealousy and anger. Rather, what it's about is that coming together of two into one. Now, when we talk about the romance, a lot of times that comes out of the beautiful and sacred bhakti tradition, the tradition of Lord Krishna, the gopis, the tradition of the beautiful full moon dances where Lord Krishna manifests himself in an infinite number of forms and dances with all of the gopis. The divine play, the Leela. But that has a very sacred and very special meaning to it. When we know we are one, but we come together as two, re-becoming one, there is a joy and ecstasy that those in the bhakti tradition consciously engage in, even knowing we're one with God. So here's what it looks like. On all of our deepest, highest, most fundamental core levels, when our meditation is real and deep, when our awakening is real, we know we are one with God. We know there's no distinction. We know there's no place that I end and God begins. We feel God every minute, every moment, every breath, in the breath, as the breath. We see the divine everywhere. We recognize there is no place. Anything ends and God begins. It's all God. And being in love feels really beautiful. And so when we look at the bhakti tradition, what we call sometimes the dualist tradition, it's a tradition that consciously, knowingly says, yeah, I know it's all God. And being in love feels so good. So, God doesn't mind. Look, Bhagwan Krishna became not only one in form, but so many in form, such that every one of the gopis, every one of the devotees could actually have her own Lord Krishna to dance with, could actually have her own divine Leela play with Krishna. So God is very compassionate. God doesn't mind. Do we pray to God, worship God, see God, experience God within our own hearts as one? In every breath, in every leaf, in every molecule? Or do we see God as the beloved and ourselves as the lover? And do we use that power of love to get closer and closer and closer to God? And that's this path of bhakti, of devotion. And yeah, sure, you can think of it as a divine romance. But if you do, think about it as a romance. The way that the divine Leela of Krishna is a romance. It's not about passion. It's not about sensual pleasures. It's not about momentary ecstasy that builds and peaks and is over in a few minutes. It's about the ecstasy of two becoming one. It's about the ecstasy of truly coming back into that oneness. And so to live in that divine romance is, oh God, come to me. Puja Swamiji sings this beautiful song, मैं तो कब से तेरी शरण में हूँ, मेरी ओर तो भी ध्यान दे. Oh God, I've been waiting for you for so long. Please just pay a little attention to me. That's the That's the divine romance. Oh God, I've been waiting and yearning. मैं तो कब से तेरे शरण में हूँ. मेरी ओर तो भी ध्यान दे. Oh God, don't look at everyone else. Pay a little attention to me. मेरी ओर तो भी ध्यान दे. That's the divine romance. And then, like Lord Krishna became so many for all the gopis, be able to see God everywhere. This game of hide and seek. Oh God, there you are in the leaf. There you are in the tree. There you are in the bird. There you are in the mountain. There you are in this being in front of me. Oh God, come to me. Let that be the divine romance if you want to worship in that way. But let it be a romance that permeates every minute of your day and that brings you into that divine Leela. It's not about a way to excuse sexual promiscuity as spirituality. Tragically, a lot of people have that misconception. Oh, I'm just romancing God through all of these one-night stands. That is not what we mean, what anyone means by the divine romance. Rather, it's about I am able to experience God in all of creation and have that two becoming one in every breath, in every smell of the flower, in every chanting of God's name. And whatever I do becomes an offering to God, becomes that courting of God. So are you doing your dharma, your duty, your job? Can that be a way of getting closer to God or courting God? You're doing your prayers, your puja. That's a way of courting God. You're making dinner for the family. You're cleaning the floor. You're sweeping. That's a way of courting God. Like Shaburi, knowing from this path, from that path, from this path, Bhagwan Ram is coming. That's what we mean by the divine romance. That every minute of your life becomes an opportunity for two to become one. This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.